It's Friday, February 21st, 2014, and let's talk about what happened this week over at xdadevelopers.com. First up, I seem to remember talking about this before, but maybe not. A post came out this week on the CyanogenMod blog that they've started putting out what are called unified releases for some certain devices. Now specifically, the post on their site was targeted at some variants of the Samsung Galaxy S3, the Galaxy S4, and the Galaxy Note 3. And effectively what I mean by unified builds is, for something like the Galaxy S3, where there are a bunch of different variants of the device, they're working to pare it down to only have one or two different builds. Specifically, they've got one build now for all of the GSM variants, and then presumably they would have another build for the CDMA one. Like I said, I think we talked about this before because just a little while back they did release unified builds for the HTC One devices, and additionally with this they came out and mentioned that they're going to be doing the same sort of unified builds for other devices like the Moto X and the Moto G, the Droid Mini, Max, Ultra, whatever else comes along that starts with the word Droid. So it's very nice to see that they can sort of do this where they pare everything back, make it a little bit simpler. Even though I know very little about this, it could be more complicated on their side, but it seems like fewer things of code to maintain makes it simpler on everybody in the long run. There may have to be some special tweaks and things done to this individual images to make them work sort of cross-device like that. But like I said, I would presume it would make it a little bit simpler in the long run because you have fewer things to keep an eye on and more sets of eyes looking in a smaller area. So if you have one of those Samsung devices that I mentioned, or one of the Moto devices, or maybe the HTC One, something like that, take a look over on the CyanogenMod blog. You can find the link to all of this down in the video description. I'll have a link to the portal post which links over to the CyanogenMod blog. And of course you can just head on over to the CyanogenMod downloads page. Should be available in some of the latest nightlies if you want to take a look there for CyanogenMod 11. And speaking of the Samsung Galaxy S4, this week a test build leaked out for the Samsung Galaxy S4 i9505 for Android 4.4.2. According to the story, it is minorly different than the previous leak we saw of 4.4.2, but still, it's a newer version, a newer build, and it does sort of signify that Samsung is working on it. And actually, speaking of Samsung devices getting updates, several of the stories here in the middle of the video were all related to Samsung, so I just thought I'd kind of clump them all together. An official over-the-air update for the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 on Sprint's network has now been made available, has started rolling out to users, bringing them up to Android 4.4.2. We can only presume it's a matter of time before other ones start rolling out as well, and everybody starts to see that KitKat love. And actually, speaking of Samsung devices getting that KitKat love, there was a story titled pretty much exactly that. Samsung came out this week with a press release talking about which devices they're planning to install KitKat on, and just to quickly sort of go over that with you, some devices slated to receive the KitKat update include the Galaxy Note 3, Galaxy Note 2, Galaxy S4, Galaxy S4 Mini, Galaxy S4 Active, S4 Zoom, Galaxy S3, the S3 Mini, the Mega, the Lite, Note 8.0, Galaxy Tab 3, Note 10.1, and the 10.1 2014 edition. So that's an awful lot to digest. I do encourage you to look at the Samsung press release. You can find that from the story, which I will link down in the video description as well. And realistically, just looking at it from that point of view, this fact that they're going to be updating the Galaxy S3 officially to KitKat is big thumbs up, even though they didn't exactly mention when they were going to be doing it. So hopefully it will happen in the next few months. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. And honestly, I'd kind of avoided buying Samsung tablets because I worry that they might not get updated. This kind of thing might make me reconsider something like the Galaxy Note 8 or maybe the new 2014 10.1 inch or some of the new Tab Pros. Of course, those are going to come running 4.4.2, I believe. Anyway, moving right along. The last device update type story I wanted to mention this week, the HTC Evo 4G LTE on Sprint officially got an update to Android 4.3 this week, but this was not a traditional over-the-air update. This was shared by HTC's Vice President Martin Fisher on Twitter, and you have to actually download it and sideload it to your device. But still, if you're still rocking the HTC Evo 4G LTE and you're interested in getting a little bit of Jelly Bean running on it, you definitely will want to take a look at that tweet, go ahead and download you a copy, and just keep in mind it's going to wipe your device when you install it. And the last two stories I wanted to mention were just kind of different and off the wall. In the first one, the Xperia Tablet Z has a bit of an interesting feature, and honestly it's one that I really enjoy because I'm an owner of the LG G2. And that's a tap to wake function where you can just tap on the screen and have it wake up and you can unlock it and everything like that. But like I said, it is exclusive to the Sony Xperia Tablet Z. Well, XDA senior member Champion Swimmer has gone ahead and ported that functionality over to some other devices, specifically the Sony Xperia Z, ZR, and ZL. So if you've been missing out on that ability to pick up your device and double tap on the screen and have it wake up for you, definitely go ahead and check out his thread for all the details. I will say, going back and forth between the LG G2 and the Nexus 5, that's the one thing I really miss on the Nexus 5 from the G2. I do realize there's a mod to make that happen. I just haven't done it on my Nexus 5 yet. And the last story I wanted to go ahead and talk about, some interesting news came out actually late this evening, Thursday evening, from Google, talking about a smartphone that they have in the works. Potential, it's a project, it might come out to the market, it might go to somebody else as a reference platform, you just never know. And it may honestly never go anywhere. But after the sale of Motorola Mobility, a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen. Of course, Google retained a lot of the advanced projects that they had from Motorola, and they've got their own advanced projects that they're working on, so it is only safe to presume that they would continue working on smartphones. Well, this is the confirmation that they are definitely working on another smartphone. They're calling it Project Tango, and it is a 5-inch device that packs a very interesting, unique feature, and that is using a combination of cameras and accelerometer and GPS and all sorts of other sensors built into the device. The device will have the capability to track full 3D motion of itself and its surroundings. So in theory, it can actually map out a room. It can map out your location based upon moving around the room and looking around the room using the cameras. And it actually sort of brings up the whole idea of what could you do with technology like that. And I think that's the entire reason for it existing is, what can developers come up with in terms of this technology? Can you make new games that take advantage of it? Can you make new GPS apps that will take advantage of a camera at the same time using the GPS? Can you use it for better mapping data? Can you use it for things like Google Street View, but have it come straight from one device where you just sort of hold it up and move it around and it maps out the interiors of locations? I know there was a project at one point for Google to start mapping out the interiors of buildings, things like malls and all sorts of public landmarks, things like that. So it's very interesting to see them coming out with a device like this, even though, like I said, it may never hit the market. And according to the story, starting in the middle of next month, this Google Advanced Projects team is supposed to seed about 200 devices out to developers. So being that this is an XDA developers channel, you should probably be on the lookout to this Google site, as well as just keeping an eye on the XDA site. I'm sure there will be stories about it if it does come and go, if there's any way to sort of apply for the program, things like that. As soon as I know anything, of course, I will let you guys know, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about this Project Tango as it does advance. And anyway, the last thing that I wanted to go ahead and mention, as usual, there were 3 other videos posted to XDA Developer TV this week. In the first one, TK did another XDA Exposed Tuesday talking about physical button music controls. And then TK did a device review talking about the Lapao Usestone 12,000 milliamp hour battery. And then he wrapped the week up with another Android app review talking about Omni Snitch, the port of Omni Switch that runs on Jelly Bean and KitKat based devices. So for the links to all those videos, as well as all the other stories that I talked about, make sure to check out the video description down below. You can also find the links to my YouTube channels down there as well. Also remember, if you like this video, you can hit that like button down below the video. We definitely appreciate it. And subscribe to receive our content as soon as it becomes available. Thank you so much for watching though, and I will see you again next time.